Welcome one, welcome all to the Saints Insider Podcast for Friday, August the 30th. Zach Ewing here with Rod Walker, Luke Johnson, Jeff Duncan. We are a week away, a little more than a week away, I guess, from the Saints regular season, but it's our last non-game week podcast, guys. So finally here, working on season preview stuff. We made it. College football season starts this weekend. We're going to talk some about that. And then I think we got a fun show. Saints bold predictions on this show. Rod's got a doozy for you. We've all got, I think, a pretty good one for you.
Rod's got the boldest predictions out of all of us, and I cannot wait to hear his explanations for him.
There's no explanation.
Oh, no. I need to hear all of it, man.
When we say bold predictions, they have to be kind of slightly outlandish, but also very possible. Like we actually have some belief that it could happen. So we're going to get to those. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got to take a quick break. First, Saints Insider Podcast is brought to you by Bank Plus. Their banking decisions are actually made here in New Orleans by local bankers who know the community and take the time to know you. From small business to big business, home loans to bank anywhere technology, Bank Plus is here for New Orleans. Learn more at bankplus.net. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. 60 seconds. We'll be right back.
Nice bike.
Thanks. Can I get it back before Saturday?
That might be tough.
Whoa. Is it just you?
For now, let's take a look.
Hi, strawberry mango. Here you go. Thank you. I'll take another one.
Football fans, with the Caesars Sportsbook app, you can be in the game all the time. Seeking instant action? Quick Picks offers you the most popular games and markets, already built for you and ready to bet. Experience the thrill when you stack your bets to create a super parlay. Build bets for your favorite teams and players across multiple games. This season, don't just watch the game. Download Caesars Sportsbook and experience the game like never before.
All right, welcome back to the Saints Insider Podcast. Going through some bold predictions for the Saints today. Also going to make our college football picks. First of all, guys, we had a reaction show to the 53-man roster on Tuesday. That was our last podcast. A lot of y'all watched that. We appreciate that. A couple of changes, I guess. The Saints, Kene Nwanwu, they picked him up off the Vikings waiver wire, but then they dropped him back with a failed physical. Do we expect more moves on this 53? We think it's pretty much set for the opener. What are you guys thinking?
I mean, they're always going to be turning it at the bottom of the roster. I think it's reasonable to expect some more stuff to happen between now and Sunday when they kick off against the Carolina Panthers. But they could technically be set. But I mean, this is something that is going to change throughout the course of the season. It always does. So I don't know if I expect any big high profile moves. I think the post we've had just sitting in our CMS about what's his name, the
Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, Hunter Renfrow. It's been sitting in there waiting to hit publish on it. About him signing with the Saints for about 6 months now. I don't think that's going to happen between now and week one. But there certainly could be some more kind of shuffling at the bottom. It's just kind of nature of the business.
Yeah, one move they did make, and it's going to be our Transactions Wire. Our transaction segment is proudly sponsored by Associated Grocers. Join our team and help support the success of local independent retail grocers. Apply today for available positions at Associated Grocers. That one move they made was a trade, kind of a pick swap. They gave up a 6th-round pick, got a 7th-round pick back, and they get John Ridgeway from the Washington Commanders. Matt's not here today. I guess we could honorarily ding the bell. Yeah. That's for you, Matt.
An honor, Matt.
John Ridgeway, Jeff, I don't know, depth move. We think Colin Saunders probably not going to be ready to go with his calf to start the season, so they added a defensive tackle.
Yeah, I think we talked on the day of the 53-man. I said I was surprised Kendall Vickers was on there. He was the big surprise to me. I didn't think he was going to make it. So clearly they're trying to bolster some depth there, and I think it speaks to Saunders' health or lack thereof, probably, as a rotational guy. This is a guy they liked, I think. That's what they said. They had a good grade on him from the draft, so it makes a lot of sense.
So they add Ridgeway. I mean, the one area, Rod, and we talked about this Tuesday, too, they only have 8 offensive linemen on the 53. We've been saying since January they need to do something with this offensive line. It still kind of feels like they haven't done enough.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about adding players. I mean, to me, if they add some depth, that's where it would probably be. Like Luke said, I don't think it'll be anybody that's going to, have everybody fired up about, in case Trevor Penning is not working out. So, yeah, I don't expect much.
David Bakhtiari's not walking through them doors.
Right.
Might be limping through the doors. That might be the problem.
Yeah. I think they probably feel a little bit of comfort in the fact that a lot of the like Landon Young and Oli Udo, who are really their primary backups right now. I guess you could count Nick Saldiveri in there, but we don't really know exactly when he's going to be ready to go. Those two guys give you depth at both tackle and guard, so that makes that a little bit of an easier choice to make. I guess technically Cesar Ruiz would be their number 2 center, but like when's the last time he's taken center reps? I mean, I don't know. It's been a couple of years. He certainly hasn't done it in practices. I think maybe the last time we saw him do it was like in a pinch in a game. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a concern. I think it's going to be a concern until they alleviate it, with their play on the field. And it's going to be one of the more interesting things for people watching this team is, like, how many times does a fan base focus on the offensive line during gameplay? Like, it never happens. Everybody's just worried about the guys with the ball in their hands. But, like, I mean, you're watching these games and you're getting messages from people like, Penning looked terrible on that play. Or, like, that never happens. But people are so focused on it, so worried about it, that I think they've got a big microscope on them right now. So it's interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. And it's got to be. It doesn't have to be great, but it can't be terrible, right? That offensive line play.
Well, I think the encouraging thing is they do have a new scheme that's can help mask some of the deficiencies they have in personnel. And when I was out visiting with Sean Payton earlier this month, I mean, he said around the league, Rick Dennison is regarded as one of the best line coach, running game coordinators that they've had in the last 25 years. So if there's anybody can get something out of these guys and mask it, I think it's going to be Dennison and John Benton. So there's hope there, and that maybe they can get more out of these guys. We haven't seen it yet. We've only had what we've seen in preseason, very vanilla. So let's wait and see what happens when they roll the ball out.
I think they'll be able to run the ball better, which is going to help. And you're talking about masking. Right. I think that'll help mask some of it if they can run the ball and stay out of a lot of third and longs and all that. So.
Yeah, that's the exact point I was going to make. I think I have seen enough from training camp in the preseason to think they're going to actually be an effective running team this year, which is like something they absolutely could not say last year. So I think that'll ease some of the burden off the line, just in terms of being in those disadvantageous spots. It'll ease some of the burden on Derek Carr, but it won't ease all of it. Like, they're not going to be just a team that's never facing a 3rd and 13. So, it's like the pass protection is something I'm definitely more concerned about, but I think they'll actually be pretty good running the football.
Saints did get a couple of good pieces of news. They got a return to practice for Kool-Aid McKinstry, Marshon Lattimore. Stay tuned for our bold predictions on that one, and also Rashid Shaheed returned to practice. So getting healthy. I mean, all these injuries during training camp, none of them were expected to be serious, and now we're starting to see those guys return too.
Yeah, it's all good news.
Saints Fans Associated Grocers is hiring. If you're looking to join a team dedicated to supporting independent retail grocers, apply today. Your future starts here. And our future is going to be bold predictions. We're going to try to tell the future. We're going to try to tell it in such a way that might make you raise your eyebrows a little bit. Okay, and so here's the thing. I asked all 4 of you, the 3 of y'all, and Matt Paris, to independently send me your bold predictions so that there wouldn't be any piggybacking or copying off of homework or anything like that. Literally all 4 of you sent me something on Taysom Hill. So some were bolder than others, but I think we kind of need to have a group bold prediction here.
Yeah, let's go.
That Taysom Hill's going to have like a breakout season at age 34. Luke is working on finishing up a tremendous story about Taysom and why he's so special from like a scientific perspective, and why he's breaking all these trends and stuff. And we know Luke likes to talk about Taysom anyway, so we'll let him start.
Yeah.
What is your Taysom Hill bold prediction?
My bold prediction is that he is going to top 1,000 yards from scrimmage this year, which maybe doesn't seem that bold until you realize that last year was a career high for him at age 33, and it was 692 yards from scrimmage. I think he is going to blow that out of the water this year. I think they are going to use him more in the run game. I think they're going to use him more as a pass catcher. I think he might set career highs in both of those numbers. So I'm fully expecting to get like a true understanding of what the Taysom Hill experience really is this year. This team has been one that has just kind of refused to. The phrase I keep coming back to with Taysom Hill is like take the governor off of him. They're always just like kind of picking their spots with him, and they don't want to overuse him. And I think that's led to this reputation he has as a gadget player. The fact is that every time he does touch the ball, he does something really good with it. And they just haven't fed him. He's played in 96 games with the Saints, counting the playoffs. He has 10-plus touches, I think, in 15 of those games. Touches, like catches and runs. And they're 13-2 in those 15 games. Like, he's really good. He's a dynamic offensive playmaker, and like Clint Kubiak has recognized that. He's like, I don't care if you're 34. Like, you're still really good. You can do a lot of different things, and then on top of that, we're going to line you up at fullback and have you be a lead blocker, so teams don't know, like, okay, he's coming in at fullback, they're going to do this. Like he's going to be in there for a significant chunk of the offensive plays, and I think that's going to lead to a big season for him.
So, Rod, we're going to turn the boldness meter up just a little bit here because 1,000 yards from scrimmage. You said not only, well, I guess you didn't technically say 1,000 yards from scrimmage, but I think it's implied that he will be the team's leading rusher.
Yeah.
That's bold,
Are you
baby.
backtracking?
That's bold. I love it. I love it, Rod.
I don't know if I think he'll get 1,000 yards. I think he might, he'd get 800, and Alvin may have 750 or something. But I do think they're going to use him a lot. I think he can have like a Christian McCaffrey type season. I mean, not quite on that level.
Now you're getting real bold.
You're going to insanity.
You can buy like Tony's regular and Tony's bold. We just bought the darker label Tony's here.
I think he's going to have a really big year, though. I mean, I think he is going to get to touches like Luke said. And if the running game is like we think it could be, I just think he could, really do something special this year. And, he could be one of those guys that people around the league are really, because I don't know if people really still talk. People know he's this unicorn guy, but I don't know if they really talk about how good he is because they just don't see him enough. And I think this year they will.
I think people still think of him as a gadget quarterback. Right. And yeah, he could still do that some, but this year we're going to see the running. And, Jeff, that leads to your Taysom Hill take, which may be even bolder.
Yeah, I don't know if it's bolder. I think that's bold right there. I actually looked him up, though, like 1,000 yards. I thought, well, maybe he could get 1,000 yards. They haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher since Ingram in 2017, so I don't think he's,
so you don't think he's going to hit 1,000 yards rushing.
Right.
But from scrimmage.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely doable. I think Luke's pick is spot on. I think he's going to. I picked 16 touchdowns rushing touchdowns, which is the record Alvin got a few years ago when he had the big 6-touchdown game on Christmas Day. I think he's going to break that because I think he's going to become the guy down there. And he has a little bit in the past. I think he definitely is going to be the guy down there now. So I could see him having I think we all agree he's going to have a big year as long as he stays healthy. I am a little concerned about that. I mean, he had a lot of injuries in college. He's been fairly injury-free. He's had some games he's missed. I can remember he's had some concussion issues. That's the thing that worries me. You start using him a lot. He's had multiple concussions. It's a tough game.
Well, it's why they haven't used him as like a bell cow in the past.
Right, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, and that's kind of the overarching concern with this is all these are season-long things. If he's used that much more, can he stay healthy? I mean, we've all seen him after games, and you guys talk about how beat up he can look after some of these games. His body's at 34 years old. It's we think still a human body.
Yeah, look, I really can't wait until we publish that story on Monday. Just like the stuff he does is everybody knows he's unique, and he does things that other football players don't do. But I don't think people understand exactly how unique he is. And just from a sports science perspective, he is truly a freak of nature. And he's doing this at 34, and he's right up there on the same level, if not better, than guys who are 24, and guys who are 100 pounds heavier than him. He's stronger than him. Guys who are 40 pounds lighter than him. He's faster than him. He is a absolute physical marvel, and he's still improving at this age, which is why they're confident that he is up to the task of increasing his role and expanding his workload.
Yeah, Luke's story is going to publish Monday morning on NOLA.com/Saints. Make sure you check it out. We got a special subscription offer going on. If you click on that story, you hit the paywall. I think it's $1 a month for 6 months, so you get you through the season. I mean, come on, six bucks. So subscribe to that. You can also subscribe, of course, to the Saints on NOLA.com YouTube channel. That's free. Hit the like button for us. Leave us a comment with your bold prediction for the Saints in 2024. Going to move on from Taysom, as much as we hate to do that, and going back to Rod. Rod, your bold prediction, non-Taysom division.
I love this so much.
Saints' biggest free agent acquisition was Chase Young. Chase Young has 16.5 sacks in 4 seasons in the NFL. Now, some of that's injury related. He hasn't been on the field the whole time. 16.5 sacks
Career
in
high
4 years.
7.5.
Career high 7.5.
He did that twice.
You're going double that.
Yeah.
15 sacks for Chase Young.
So originally I was going 11 or 12.
Go big.
And Rob's like, you know what?
Right.
Go big or go home.
And then I thought about DeMario. DeMario was like, yeah, he wouldn't be surprised if Chase Young's in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. So I just kind of had to turn it up enough to get him in that conversation. And I think 15 that's where I'm putting him at. That's, 1 sack a game pretty much. I just think he just wreaked havoc, and we're just going to get to see that this year. If he can stay healthy, which is what we're going to say about everybody. But I know it's a lot. It wouldn't even be the Saints' all-time record. I think Swilling and Leroy Glover had like 17 in the season.
So not an all-time record, just 15.
Yeah, just 15, yeah. So, yeah, that's what I'm going with. That's the boldest thing I can think of. And he's the only player. We all went to Taysom. We went to the freak on offense. I went to the freak on defense. And
I love it.
I'm going with 15.
How outlandish is that, guys?
I mean, it's outlandish, but I love it. And look, we're basing this off of what we've seen. And what we've seen is he's whipped the butts out of every single one of these Saints offensive linemen. And every time he's gotten in the preseason game, he's been making plays and getting to the quarterback and affecting him. So I think it's crazy in a good way. I really like it. I like that you're bold. I don't think he's going to get there, but I do think like a double-digit sack season is possible. I just need to see it now against somebody who's not the Saints offensive line, specifically their offensive tackles, who we've talked about ad nauseum about being like a concern. And not against number 2 tackles in the preseason. Like, can he do this against like the Caleb McGarrys of the world and Tristan Wirfs, who's going to see twice a year? I want to see that. And if he can, wow, that'd be awesome. Because we haven't seen something like that for a minute around here.
We are going to look at each other every time he gets a sack, though, in the press box. We'll just...
You're going to make tally marks?
Yeah.
Chase Young
The
sacks
Chase
Bryce
Young
Young
tracker.
6 times week 1. Rod's going to be like,
Should have said 25. Yeah. First of all, Jeff, just like with Taysom, he's got to stay on the field, though.
Yeah, he's had some injury issues, right? I mean, Matt would know better than us. But I think it's a calculated gamble, right? I mean, he's in basically a 1-year prove-it contract. He's healthy again. This is a big year for him, career-wise. I mean, he's kind of lost his luster from being the number 2 pick in the draft.
Huge year, yeah.
To me, it makes a lot of sense that he would, if he has a big year, if he has double-digit sacks, he's going to have a huge market. I mean, those guys are hard to find. So he looks like the thing that impresses me about him is he looks very light on his feet for a big, massive guy. He's an athletic guy. You can see why he was the number 2 pick in the draft.
exactly. It's exactly right.
100%.
He looks like a number 2 pick.
Yeah, he stands out among big men. Now he's just got to do it, like Luke said, in the game. I mean, we haven't seen him yet go against really anybody front line yet, so I got to see it. But it looks good. It's promising.
Yeah, I mean, he's got it, right? There's a reason he was drafted number 2. You can still see that. So
yeah, and one of the other things is I think we've heard pretty consistently from the coaching staff and his teammates that he's really bought in. He kind of made a point out of saying that like this wasn't a prove-it year for him when he signed here, but like I think it's absolutely a prove-it year for him. I think he's motivated by kind of the free agent snub that he had. He probably thought he was going to be signing more than a really incentive-heavy 1-year, $13 million contract. He's got an opportunity to change that kind of career narrative for him this year.
Yeah, yeah. The Saints hope he hits all of those incentives. So, and if he does, then Rod's going to look awfully smart too. That also will lead into Luke's next bold prediction. And this one, we might turn the boldness meter back a little bit, but you're saying the Saints will finish with a top 8 defense. I assume we're just talking regular yards per game rankings here.
Yeah, but like I think I'd be comfortable throwing in like some of the advanced metrics on that too. The EPA and the success rate and all that stuff. DVOA. I think they're going to be really good defensively. 8 felt like the right number for me because they're the top quarter of the NFL. And I thought this is bold because yes, they finished 13th last year, but I was coming into this season very down on where this defense was. I didn't think their pass rush was going to be good enough. I didn't think their run defense was going to be good enough. Those are 2 issues that really hurt them last year. And really the only reason that they finished as well as they did last year is because their secondary was absolutely elite without Marshon Lattimore for much of it. And they turned the ball over a lot. They finished top 5 in the NFL in takeaways. That stuff is hard to carry over. But I think the areas that were weaknesses last year are going to be much stronger this year. I think they're going to be a much better pass rush. I think that's a huge part of this, and I think they're going to be improved as a run defense. How much they're going to improve there, I don't know, but I don't think they have to be top 5 run defense for them to still be a very, very difficult defense to play against.
I mean, 2 years ago they didn't have a great run defense. I think they finished 6th in the NFL. So, and that's the thing is like. They were top 6 3 previous years, Rod. So maybe you look at this and say, well, that's not that bold. But not only were they 13th last year, there were games, especially late in the year, the Lions game, the Rams game, where you looked at it and said, man, this defense is over the hill. You look at the ages of the key players and say that even if the offense improves, the defense is going downhill. That may not be the case.
Yeah, I just think with the additions they made, I mean, we talked about Chase Young, but I think with Willie Gay, I think he adds something to it. And it's just going to be a matter of Marshon. If the secondary guys stay healthy, I think Brian Brzee is going to make a big jump in year 2. And so I just think with that in the pass rush, I just think this defense has a chance to be really good. So I think that's going to happen.
I think Alontae Taylor looks like he's made a jump too. He may be really good. Jeff, you buying top 8 defense?
Well, that's the guy I was going to mention. We didn't mention him yet. I mean, to me, he's a big key to this improvement. Him and Brzee, 2 guys they invested high draft picks in, that they're counting on to kind of make a jump forward. And I think if both of them look good in camp, that carries over. Yeah, I don't see why they can't. I mean, those were areas we were concerned with, and they brought in Chase Young and they drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry, so they've tried to address it. Now let's just see if it happens. I saw the other day the Ringer did not have the same promising. They were picked the Saints like 24th or something on some advanced analytics that they saw as a negative trajectory for the defense. I'm not sure I buy what they were selling there.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of those projections when you're looking at from a national scale are based off of last year, and I've not seen the same defensive unit from what I've seen and from my vantage point in training camp this year versus last year.
One thing I will say for me is a worry about the defense. They forced a bunch of takeaways last year. That tends to regress.
Oh, yeah.
And so even if the yards per game and the advanced metrics say the defense is better, the points per game and the actual results you're getting may, if you don't get those turnovers, those takeaways, that's a big deal too.
It also felt like they gave up a ton of yards to running quarterbacks, and that felt a little gimmicky to me. Like, I don't know if that's going to happen.
That's a feature,
again.
Not a bug, man, with this defense.
Yeah, I know, but I just don't know, man. There was just so many times we saw it happen. I mean, how many times, Josh Dobbs, there was like 5 guys around him. You just can't Houdini-act that. Those are hard things to replicate.
All right, so we have a couple of other kind of bold predictions. Really good one from Jeff I want to get to. We do you one more break, so let's take that break now. We'll be back in 30 seconds. More Saints bold predictions on the Saints Insider. They're charging. Oh, we're back here on the Saints Insider Podcast. Sorry about that. Saints bold predictions. We were talking before the break about the defense, and we've got a big one, but we also had some kind of smaller ones thrown around I decided not to use for the show. One of them was Matt Paris said Trevor Penning will be benched by October, I think is what he said. The first month of the season, he'll
Definitely
be benched.
not bold.
It's not that bold, but I don't know what else they do. I mean, if they're benching him, then you're throwing Ali Udo out there, right?
Yeah, but I mean that happened last year. They benched him last year.
They benched him last year, and they put Cam Irving in there, who was unemployed for
waiver wire
of the season.
Pickup.
Yeah.
Trying to think what some of the other ones were. What else did you guys have that didn't quite make the cut?
I only sent 2 in. I'm not that bold.
I think Matt had another one. I'll have to.
You got the kicker one.
Try. Oh, well, yeah, we're gonna get to that too. Does that? Yeah, but the next one that we've got is from Jeff, and I think this is pretty good. This is right up the alley of what we're talking about because it may seem crazy to you now on August the 30th, but I don't think it'll be crazy the whole way. And Jeff, we talked about this after the Saints drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry. You think it may still actually happen?
Yeah, well, I wrote in the offseason that the Saints, I wrote they should trade Marshon Lattimore. It's difficult contractually. He's had a bunch of injuries, so I'm not sure how much of a market he has right now. But if he goes back on the field, starts playing well, and depending how the season plays out, I think that's the key, how this season plays out. If they're rolling, I don't think they're going to move anybody because they're going to keep rolling. But if things were to go south, I could see, to use a Robert Mays phrase, a world where they can move Marshon Lattimore. They're struggling. They got this rookie they just drafted very high, Kool-Aid McKinstry. They've been playing well without him in the past. Get something for him before you get nothing for him if they have to cut him in the next offseason. So that's what I could see happening, especially if things go south.
You had specifically, too, to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I believe, was what you said.
Right, who showed interest in him this past offseason. They need secondary help.
It does make some sense, Luke. I mean, Alontae Taylor, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Paulson Adebo, you still have a pretty darn good starting cornerback crew if you trade Lattimore.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I agree with Jeff's take that they'd trade him in season. I think to really maximize his value, you got to get him through the season healthy. At least hope he gets through the season healthy. If you're really going to get the most back for him. But I mean, you're right. They do have pretty solid depth there. They have a starter waiting in the wings. There's a risk if you trade Marshon Lattimore and you don't extend Paulson Adebo, and then now you're looking at maybe losing 2 of your top flight corners within a calendar year. Then it becomes a little bit more difficult to talk about this from a depth perspective. And we've just seen this team just over the years. Their corners have gotten hurt, and they've had to throw guys like Ike Yadam in there, and Chris Harris, another guy they signed off the street. And
you got Rico Payton, man, a camp sensation.
Yeah, Rico Payton. He
came on
really strong.
All airline drive.
I don't think you want him starting against the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers. That's probably the one. They got Ladd McConkey and who else? Josh Palmer. I'm not
bad example, but yeah.
Depth only lasts so long in the regular season. There's going to be a point where Kool-Aid McKinstry is probably being forced to play starter reps for this team. I don't think you can ever consider that to be set over the course of a 17-game season. So I would personally be surprised, but it is bold and I like it.
For me, it would have, like Jeff said, I mean, they would have to really fall apart for that to happen during the season. For me, because I think the defense is going to be good, and I think he's going to be a big part of why they're good. So if that happens, I mean, you got to keep them around. But, if they fall apart, you may start looking at shifting some things around and looking ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I will say it's such a big year for Dennis Allen and his coaching staff that you'd almost feel like you were undercutting them if you started trading pieces away during the season. But if it gets to the point where maybe it's too late, no matter what you do, then yeah, you go see what you can get. So a couple more. One that Matt did send in that didn't make the cut that I just realized was he said Jaden Daniels is going to light the Saints up at the Dome in December when the Commanders are here. That might be
we got to talk to Matt about the definition of bold.
Yeah, that's also
running quarterback.
running
cuts
quarterback
up
late at the
cuts up the
Saints,
Saints
like,
defense side. Yeah, I mean,
When is that game on the schedule?
It's late. It's like week 13.
Yeah, I don't know.
Daniel's got to be healthy first of all. He can't get
where I was
killed
going.
behind that O-line.
That's where
yeah.
I was going. I don't know if, you know.
Yeah, their O-line's bad.
Right.
But Matt's official bold prediction for this show, and he's not here, but this is pretty bold too. He says Charlie Smith, who did make it onto the Saints practice squad as their 17th guy, the international player pathway, he says not only will he kick in an NFL game this year, either for the Saints or for somebody else who picks him up, but he will make a 60-plus yard field goal. That's pretty crazy to think that all that could happen, but we'll see.
Well, he's got the leg for it.
Yeah. He can make one.
I mean, the least outlandish thing about all of this is that he actually makes the kick. He's got to get the chance to kick it first.
Right. And that's the thing. A lot of people were worried about him clearing waivers. But the simple fact of the matter is the Saints own all of the information on Charlie Smith right now. Nobody has any idea who he is. They got to see one preseason kick from 37 yards, something like that, 39 yards.
Yeah.
And they got nothing else outside of a couple kickoffs. And
Unless they were
no
watching
extra
us.
points.
Yeah, they've been watching our tweets or something. And
yeah,
sorry
but
about tweeting,
okay,
no,
if you're no, but I'm saying I know for a fact that NFL front offices do look at beat reporters' videos and stuff like that. They look, they look to see. We're not like scouting talent evaluators, but they're like, okay, well, if 30 people on that beat all say like this guy's like killing it out of practice, or like maybe we should pay attention to him. But like, there's a difference between like knowing that Charlie Smith is going to be a functional NFL kicker and saying like, wow, he kicked a 65-yarder at Tulane. Like, let's bring him on and have him be our guy. So, yeah, I just have a hard time believing, even though a lot of people were worried about it, that like another team would claim him and take that risk unless they were just like absolutely in the toilet and their kicker got hurt and they're like, might as well just give it a shot and see if this guy can turn into something really good.
Yeah, NFL kicker, Jeff's one of those spots. There's only 32 of them. No team's ever going to have more than one active. So is he number 33 in the list as soon as there's a kicker injury? Is he number 34? I don't think so. I mean, it would probably take a while. Unless it's Blake Grupe who gets replaced, then the Saints may go right to Charlie Smith.
I'm gonna accuse Matt Paris of having a man crush. I think at this stage, he's got a man crush on Charlie Smith. Is Paris Irish? It's not Irish.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Matthew Paris.
It does sound vaguely Irish.
Magically delicious. I mean, he's just, I don't know what, he's been all over this guy. He was going to put him on his 53-man roster.
They're always after
Well,
his
lost
charms.
Well, look, let's be clear. Charlie Smith has obviously got talent and it's tantalizing, right? He's done some like crazy
he can make
stuff.
a long field, but there's been plenty of guys over the years who make long field goals.
There's a lot of other stuff that's involved in this, and the Saints were clearly not wanting to let anybody else see the talent to take a gamble.
But
on
I
him.
mean,
So-
the guy was at the NFL Combine. Everybody saw him there. I mean, he kicked at the scouting combine. It's not like he's some hidden secret. I mean, everybody in the league would know about him.
if something happened to Will Lutz, I'm sure Sean Payton would call him and let him kick a 70-yarder in Mile High Stadium.
Mile in altitude.
I bet he could make it.
He could probably make an 80-yarder in that altitude.
I think the more like I would buy this if you said Charlie Smith's going to make a 60-yard field goal in an NFL game in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
I might buy that a lot more.
I would
than,
definitely
than
buy
it's
that.
going to happen this year. I think he'll get a chance at some point.
Yeah, I don't think like Blake Grupe should be going into this season feeling like I've got this 100% locked down. I'm sure he's not. You know, I mean, they're keeping a second kicker on their practice squad. And I know they got the exemption for him and everything, but like he's there in case Blake Grupe falters. And you know, if the Saints are able to hang on to him the whole year, he'll be there again to compete with them next year. And we only saw him get better from the start of training camp to the end of it. So, I mean, definitely something to watch out for. But I just think that like the odds of him kicking for another team this year are probably slim.
Okay, so that was Matt's bold prediction. I've got one too, and I ended with mine because it's more of a near-term prediction, and it will lead us into our first game.
I can't wait for you to explain this one.
All right. So my bold take starts with a not bold take that the Saints will start 1-1. The bold part of it is that they're going to lose to Carolina at home and then go beat Dallas at AT&T Stadium. And the first part of this is how fun, well, wouldn't be fun, but imagine the discourse after the Saints lose to Carolina for that week.
That's why your prediction will not work, because they will not even have a team if they lose to Carolina. They'll disband.
Public lynching
The
or something?
city will implode if they lose to Carolina at home.
They lose to Carolina, they're going 0-5, man. Like,
nuke the site from orbit.
Right.
And I actually
It's
thought,
not going to be good here.
I
if
thought
they-
about making the bold prediction 0-5, but this is where I'm coming from, okay? Part of it has to do with the Saints, and sometimes things in the NFL just don't make a total amount of sense. Part of it is also that I'm much higher on Carolina, I think, than consensus. I think Carolina's, I like Dave Canales. I think they improved some of the weapons. I think that team has an outside shot at a wild card in an NFC that's not.
Are you kidding me?
That's
We're
been your
still,
ball.
baby.
They just claimed 6 players off of waivers. 6 players that other teams cut. They claim those. They are not a good team.
They were not a good team last year. This is a new season.
that should have been your ball.
Playoffs.
I said outside shot. That wasn't
Playoffs.
okay. And I think Dallas is going to miss the playoffs. And I know Jeff's going to go ballistic at that. I think they're worse than everybody thinks. I think they were a team that benefited tremendously from turnovers last year. I think they were a team that did absolutely nothing in the offseason. Their skill positions outside of CeeDee Lamb, who admittedly is great. Who else do they have?
Brandon Cooks. Former Saint
Ezekiel
Brandon
Elliott,
Cooks.
Brandon
Former
Cooks,
Saint.
Dalvin. Like, do they have a
They've got the-
wheelchair on the sideline? Like, what?
they had the all 2017 team out there.
I mean, I just don't think Dallas is very good. I think the Saints could circle the wagons after losing to Carolina, and everybody has written them off, and then they go up there and stun everybody, and it's 1-1. I don't think it's crazy.
I mean, well, it's not okay. Look, losing to Carolina is not crazy, but like the rest of your take on Carolina is crazy. I think they could lose to the Carolina Panthers because they are just like not ready to go out there and compete. Carolina is going to be one of the 5 worst teams in football this year. I have no doubt about
maybe
that.
2 worst teams. Yeah, they're at the bottom of the
They
league.
have no juice on that team.
Defense, there's nobody on it. You got J.C. Horn and Derek Brown. Is there anybody else? I can't think of anybody besides those 2. They let everybody leave.
Brad
Frankie
Burns is
Louvu
gone.
and,
Frankie Louvu's gone. Yeah.
Maybe
what's
drafting
the-
Travis Hunter next year, like really high in the draft.
Okay. All right. Or the kid from Tennessee, #1 pick. The
Who
defensive
do the
end.
Cowboys play in their opener? That's what I need to know.
They play.
Are they going to be
Cleveland.
ripe? Could they
Tom
be
Brady's
ripe?
first broadcast game is
Who?
Dallas at Cleveland.
So yeah.
Cleveland.
So if they lose that game, are they in Cleveland?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
at Cleveland.
It's the home
That's their
opener
first
for the
one.
Cowboys, and they're coming off a loss. And you think they're going to lose to the Saints?
This was not Saints meek predictions, man. This is bold predictions.
You know, Micah Parsons is going to be lining up and DeMarcus Lawrence over the right tackle.
Yeah. I mean, I understand there's
Better
some
run the
question
ball.
marks here.
Better run the ball wide.
But no, that's the other thing. Dallas can't stop the run. The Saints want to run. If you get out to a lead
That's
in that
not
game,
bad. That's not bad because they did struggle.
Look, I think they could beat Dallas. I think you're right about that.
So now you've said both halves are feasible. You're just saying put together is not feasible.
I
did
just
say
say your method is disturbing to me.
All right. Okay. Well,
Like telling me about how Carolina's gonna be an improved team. I just can't. I can't do it right now.
We'll see.
I can't
It's
take it.
definitely-
what did
bold.
Carolina? Did they win 2 games last year or 3?
I think it was 2.
They're gonna win more games. This year. They will be improved by that metric.
And they're going to be in the playoffs.
Congrats to them.
I didn't say they were. I said I think they
gonna
have
win
an outside
3.
chance. I think they could be a team that's 6-7 with 4 weeks left, and it's like okay, if they go 3-1, they got a chance at it, something like that.
I do think I'll say this about. I do think Bryce Young is way better than he showed
Yes.
last year.
Yeah.
I mean, he was terrible last year.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's that bad. I mean, there's no way he's that bad. I just worry a little bit that he might have lost confidence.
Yeah.
You know, college football expanded, not the NFL, right? Playoffs.
I like. See, you're setting me up for the
Right,
segue,
that's
man.
what
I
I was
like
trying to
that.
do,
We are going to do our full NFL predictions in Wednesday's show, so we'll have more spicy takes like Dallas is going to miss the playoffs, and all of that sort of thing. I'm not ready to go. Carolina's going to make it. I'm just saying.
Thank you.
I think they're going to be like like the Saints were last year, where on December 1st, if you squint hard enough, you could see a path if they get hot,
No.
something like that.
Sorry, buddy.
But today, college football season started technically last week. It started in earnest last night. By the way, did anybody watch that Colorado game?
I know Rod did.
You know I did, man.
Those refs wanted Colorado to win that game so bad, man. They got 5 breaks in the last 2 minutes of that game and held on by 5 yards.
I
You
know
have money on
there was a
North-
false start penalty that I thought was like blatant, and they didn't call it.
There was a targeting they didn't call.
There was targeting.
They let the clock run on a first down. Like there was all these things. Anyway, Colorado survived. The season starts in earnest tomorrow. LSU gets going Sunday. Tulane played last night. So we're going to do real quick, just break down our final 4. The college football playoffs 12 teams now. If you want to throw in a surprise CFP entrant you can. But we just asked for Final Four and your national champ. So just having a little fun at the end of the show. Rod, who you got?
Ohio
Do I need to
State,
look this up?
Probably. Ohio State, Texas, the school whose name I'm not going to say. I'll let somebody else say it for me.
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. And was it Alabama or Georgia? Who's my fourth one?
I think you had Georgia.
I think Georgia, yeah. Yeah, it was Georgia. So those are my four, which is what 3 SEC teams. And I got Texas winning it all.
All right.
I just think they were really good last year. Got 15 starters back. Quinn Ewers is back. A third-year starter at quarterback. I just think they got all the pieces, and I think going through the SEC and just going through that schedule. They may lose a game along the way. I mean, you don't have to go undefeated now. I mean, you can lose a game, maybe even 2 games, and get in the playoffs. So I just think it's their year.
Mississippi State, the Bulldogs, how are they doing this year?
Not good.
What'd you say, 4-8?
No, I said 5
5
and
and
7.
7.
I got them winning all 4 non-conference games. They may start off 3-0. They played Eastern Kentucky, Arizona State, and Toledo. And then they play UMass like later in the season. They'll beat Arkansas, I think, in the SEC. That'll be their SEC win. I don't see them really getting another one.
All right.
It was hard for me to say. I said 2 things I didn't want to say today.
Mizzou plays at Mississippi State late in the season.
Yeah.
Might be an important game for Mizzou. I'm going to go 9-3 on Mizzou. I think they fall just short of the playoff. You have a surprise CFP entrant? Somebody who people aren't talking a lot about?
I guess I'll say Tulane, man. We'll see how good they are.
I was hoping somebody was going to say Tulane.
I thought Mensa looked really good, the quarterback, the redshirt freshman. So I think they can, just being not in one of those Power 4 conferences or whatever we're calling them now, I think they have a shot to sneak in.
All right. My Final Four, I'm going to go Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, and Oregon as my Final Four, and I'm going to take Georgia to win it all. I actually think Georgia is going to not win the SEC, but get into the playoff as like an 8 seed or something and wreak havoc and win the national title. They got a really difficult schedule, but once they get in, they're just better than everybody.
You got a Georgia-Clemson prediction? They play tomorrow.
Georgia will beat them, but Clemson's going to get in and win the ACC. So, all right. So that's my pick. Nobody took Georgia. I was like, okay, you're going to give me the chalk. I'll take Georgia.
I took Georgia.
Took Ohio State.
Well, not to win the championship.
Oh, I meant to win.
Got it.
Sorry, didn't mean to spoil, but go ahead.
All right. Yeah. Well, I did my best to not be a homer here.
Unlike last year.
For those who don't know, Luke picked LSU to win the national championship last year. And as you pointed out, had they had a shred of a defense at all, they might have actually done it.
They one of the best offenses in college football history last year. So I was looking at the list, and I'm just like, I don't want to go chalk here, but like I don't really have faith in a lot of these teams to be Final Four, and obviously that's going to have to play out over the course of the season. So I have a very chalky pick. I went with Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, and Ole Miss, and I picked Ohio State to win the championship. I will say that I'm down on Texas. I know you guys are both high on Texas this year.
On them? What's the rationale?
The rationale is every time Texas has looked like it's about to be Texas again, they just like absolutely fall on their face. And they're getting an opportunity to do that this year. Is their first year in the SEC. I think they're going to get pantsed by the SEC.
See, this is what I love. I think Texas will win the SEC, and that's my team. Georgia will be like the 8th seed. They'll get a rematch at the Sugar Bowl, and Georgia will beat them and knock them out.
I can see that.
I think Texas will probably make the playoffs because they're Texas and there's 12 teams in it this year, but I don't think they're going to be finishing like a top 5 team like everybody's kind of projecting them. And then my alma mater, LSU, I picked to go 10-2 and earn a CFP berth.
Who you got them losing to? Anybody? Did you?
They'll lose 1 or 2 to Alabama or Ole Miss. They'll beat one of those teams, and then they'll find a way to. They always find a way to lose a weird game at some point in the season. Like they'll probably lose to South Carolina, and I'm just gonna be like, I was wrong. And then they go out and smoke Alabama or A&M or something like that. I don't know. I feel pretty good about them. I feel pretty good about Garrett Nussmeier. I think he's going to be really solid. I don't think he's going to be competing for a Heisman like Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow did, but I think he's going to be really good. Fun to root for, too. If you haven't read Wilson Alexander's story about him and his path to LSU and why he's still here, I would highly highly recommend it. It was exceptional.
Oh, and also check out our LSU Sports on NOLA.com YouTube channel. We're LSU Sports Insider podcast twice a week as well. And everybody picked LSU to beat USC, by the way. I thought about it. I went 30-28 LSU. I was the only team that even had SC covering the spread. Does anybody think Trojans can win that game Sunday?
No.
I mean, they can absolutely win it. They can.
They could.
But nobody's picking them to do it.
No, I mean, I think LSU's. I think LSU's defense is going to be a little bit better this year. I think their offense is still going to be very good.
All right, Jeff, how about those Louisville Cardinals?
Yeah, I went homer a little bit there. I went 9-3. They won 10 games last year, so I felt like it wasn't too much of a homer. I don't care about anything they do as long as they beat Kentucky. That's all I care about. They could lose every other game.
One game season.
Beat Kentucky. I'm tired of losing to Kentucky. They were up 10 points on them late in the game last year and just fell apart in Louisville. It was embarrassing. Totally embarrassing. Cannot happen again, or Braum needs to be fired. And then other than that, my Final Four. Did I throw Utah in there? Did I throw them in there?
Big name alumni has spoken here for Louisville.
I'll my $100 a year or whatever I put in there. I think I had Utah in there. That's my team.
I think you did.
That's my sleeper team.
I like them to win the Big 12.
They have a very easy schedule. That's the main thing, and they've got a quarterback back. They're always kind of overlooked team. They're tough. They're always physically tough.
I don't have your thing in here.
I thought about picking Utah, but then but we're talking about Final Four. We're not talking about 4 teams in the playoff. We're talking about
It's all right. They can play.
Well, if they win the Big 12, they get a bye, and they would just be
Bowl.
one win away from the Final Four at that point. So it's not.
I mean, they got players out there. We see a bunch of them in the NFL every weekend.
Yeah.
I love Texas. That's who I picked to win it all. I think they're loaded. If you look at their NFL draft prospects, I think only Ohio State has more. I don't like Georgia. Georgia got to play at Alabama, at Ole Miss. I mean, they've got a really tough schedule.
Brutal. And
maybe
Texas.
at Texas. Yeah. I don't see how they get through that gauntlet. And I like your Clemson pick because I think the ACC is way down, as evidenced by Florida State. So I think they could cakewalk their way in. And they're kind of due to bounce back. They've been kind of mediocre the last few years, but I didn't put them in there. I probably should have. And Ohio State's just loaded. They've been pointing to this year, and they've been recruiting very well. And then Ole Miss, Rod's favorite team, they've got a very favorable schedule. I think most of their big games are in Oxford, except LSU. They play in Baton Rouge. So I think they didn't they win the transfer portal? Isn't that what they did this year?
Yeah,
they brought in Walter Nolan from Texas A&M, who's going to be a first-round draft pick. So they're kind of geared up. This is their year.
They did lose their running back, Quinshon Judkins, to Ohio State, so that was a loss. But interesting year in college. They got the playoffs. A little fun with our college predictions here on the Saints Insider. Hope you enjoyed our bold predictions as well. Leave yours in the comments. It's got to be bold, okay? We might share some on Wednesday, but
I want Rod Walker bold.
Yeah, I don't want like Derek Carr's going to throw for 25 touchdown passes, or like let's go bold, okay?
Like Carolina making the playoffs bold.
Yeah, that's bold.
Yeah, I'd say that's
big and bold.
That's insane.
And we will be back on Wednesday. We'll do some NFL predictions. And then, of course, we'll be into game week. We'll talk Saints-Panthers next week as well. Read all of our stuff at NOLA.com/Saints. Season preview stuff. Rod has a column this morning talking about the Dennis Allen. I mean, this is it. Well, I guess we'll let you say a bit about that, Rod, before we go. This is it for Dennis.
Yeah, I think it's now or never. I mean, I think we all kind of agree that this team has to do well this year. They need to make the playoffs. Need to have a winning record. You make it. Sell the team. You might sell the fans on if they go 9-8 and miss the playoffs by one game because the whole division's good. I mean, you can sell the fans on that, but I just think he has to do something to make fans want to believe that this team's heading in the right direction.
So that's up on the site this morning. We mentioned the Taysom Hill feature will be up Monday. We'll have 4 other big features next week. Jeff, you've got you visited with Sean Payton in Denver a couple weeks ago, and we've got some stories from that and what Sean Payton thinks of his future and what he thinks of the Saints also. So check that stuff out. It's all coming your way on NOLA.com/Saints. For Rod Walker, Luke Johnson, Jeff Duncan, our producer Norman Bell, I'm Zach Ewing. Thanks for watching the Saints Insider.